This is the most classic version of Optimus Prime to ever exist. Well, the second, or technically the third? Screw it, whatever. This is a Generation 2 Optimus Prime, the daddy of all Transformers. Released in 1993, he's a classic to own and that 90s build quality still holds up. Now if we take a closer look at the head sculpt of the figure, we'll notice that it's very different from the actual animated show. I will say, his head does look more like this in all the older artwork though, but I do like the retro look to it. In fact, the entire figure looks very different from the animated show. And that's because just like the G1 figure, this is basically just the Diaclone Battle Convoy. Just for those who don't know, originally he was a Diaclone figure known as Battle Convoy, then re-released as G1 Optimus Prime, and then another release for the Generation 2 line of figures. Now, a thing you'll notice is that the head, hands, and legs are a dark purpley blue, and that's because there are two variants of this figure, one with the darker blue like this, and one with a lighter blue. You have some silver paint on the forehead and some yellow eyes, the classic silver mouthpiece, and on the side of the head you can see there's not much to it. At the top of the chest you have the headlights of the figure, and this chest piece is die-cast metal, and you can see some of the paint is chipping off. Also, I do apologize if this figure is dusty. I did dust it before doing the review, but considering how old this figure is, there's always places to dust. On the lower part of the chest you have some rivets and windshield wipers. I really like the silver stripe going around the figure. Other than the smokestacks and some tiny bits of detail on the arms are pretty simple. Over to the hands, they're very dark blue and they can be popped off for the transformation. On the front you have his classic grille piece, and underneath that you have a bumper for the truck mode. The thighs do look pretty basic, there's not a whole lot going on to it, and you have the fuel tanks at the side. I do love all the shiny pieces this figure has, kinda like a crow. Down onto the legs you have those ridges just like Optimus Prime has. The feet are die-cast metal and the color matching to the figure is done pretty well. The paint on the feet is also chipping away unfortunately, and it seems like the legs on my figure have gotten loose over the years because they always want to go back. But overall, the build quality on this figure is really nice. No. He has some rubber tires, great for spinning. You have some detail bits on the side of the arms, and they really shine in the vehicle mode. Now, I do feel like the arms are kind of long, and the proportions are kind of wonky. In my opinion, there were some more aesthetically pleasing looking figures at the time, but I'd still smash. And for a toy that originally came out in the 80s, this is a feat of engineering. And it's a great throwback to have just to see how far along Transformers figures have come.
逃げずにこのディオに近づいてくるのか。近づかなきゃてめえをぶちのめせないんでな。ほほう。では十分近づくがよい。
Now for the articulation, and since this is an older figure, there's not a whole lot. There's no head rotation or anything, but you can move this flap and sort of mimic a up and down movement. The arms can swing back for the transformation. There is bicep rotation, and with the way the hands are designed, they can also rotate. You do get an elbow bend, and a full 360 arm rotation. These legs can move back, if you couldn't tell from the rest of the review. And this is one of those older figures that actually has a knee bend. The legs have no forward movement. You get some movement at the feet, which is used for the transformation. Also, at the time, they didn't really worry about scale for these figures. For example, next to my G1 Hot Rod, he looks alright, but next to Autobot Blaster, he looks submissive and breedy. And if you're wondering how he compares to more later releases of Optimus Prime figures, he's definitely smaller than most of them, except that one. And here he is next to some other figures that I randomly picked out that pay an homage to the original G1 aesthetic. Now this version of Optimus Prime does also come with a trailer, and instead of gray like the original, this one is black. It says Optimus Prime on it, you know, just in case if you forgot what figure you owned. You get a really nice Autobot logo over here, and I really like how 90s this looks. I do have some stuff in it, so you might hear that rattling around. On the other side, pretty much the same, and then you do have that little design over there, along with the rest of the trailer also having a nice design to it. You kind of got these ridges, which are nice to... It's really nice to do. And you do have some like really tiny rivets throughout the trailer mode. And once again, the wheels are rubber. The underside of the trailer is surprisingly not completely flat. They have some nice molded areas to represent different bits of a trailer. Now these pieces are supposed to be flipped the other way, and they're supposed to flip out so the trailer can stand, but I have found it to be slightly more level if you keep it all the way at the front, and it looks much cleaner that way in my opinion. I definitely prefer the gray trailer over the black trailer, but this is still really cool. Also, it looks like the side of this sticker has been through a lot. You can see these little stair-step ridges at the top of the trailer, and here's a closer look at that back piece of the trailer. You can see some of the details there, and since I did buy this figure used, there are some scratches on it. And if you open this up, you get a little bit of detail going on in there. Now let's open up the rest of the trailer. If we open up the trailer, we'll see all the accessories this figure has, minus the ones I'm missing. I'm missing the electronic box that makes lights and sounds. It's pretty much just a big black box with an Autobot insignia on it. It attaches to the front of his trailer and onto the back of the figure. It also has ports on the sides for the missile launchers. I could buy one off eBay, but I'm on a super tight budget right now. Subscribe to my Patreon maybe, and that money could be used for other figures. Luckily, the TF Wiki does have an audio file for the sounds it makes, so I can play that while having some unrelated footage play over the screen as to not lose retention. I'm I'm also missing the fuel pump accessories, which is unfortunate. Now let's start off by taking a closer look at Roller. He's very dusty. Okay, I cleaned him up now, and here's a closer look at Roller. It's pretty basic and has a dark blue color scheme to it, which is different from the Diaclone release. He's got 4 seats in total, so I can fit all the friends I don't have on it. The original Diaclone release did come with some tiny figures, so that's why it has seats. And you have some panel working at the front. You have 6 off-road style looking wheels. You can plug a weapon into the top. Nothing really going on the underneath. These little things right here are so you can plug it into the trailer and have it launch out. Now this is a blaster that he comes with, and it's very basic. There's not a whole lot to it. You get these 2 missile launchers. They both have a little bit of detail on them, and they're exactly the same. And the designs are slightly different on both sides. Push up on this little back notch and it can fire. And for these blast effect pieces, you need to put it back in with the notch facing downwards. Unfortunately, this one is stuck in place, and I don't really want to risk breaking it. And one thing I want to mention about the weapons is that this one's kind of awkward to make him hold it. This piece gets in the way, which is unfortunate, but he can hold these ones pretty well. And for some reason, this hand is just so much tighter than the other one that it's really hard to put this in. Now back to the trailer. I swear there's nothing weird in here this time. You have the auto launcher at the back. You can bring this up and it has a joint here so you can bring it back. This claw piece is connected with a ball joint and you can bring that out. You can move it around anyway, and it can move here as well, and you can open and close the claws. The communications antenna can be brought up and it can spin around. The front of this also opens up, revealing a seat inside. You have some 2 little command consoles at the sides. Ooh, I like this little grid pattern. I really like these stickers on the sides, and I'm surprised they've held up over the years. And once again, I do apologize for the dustiness of this. This is such an old figure. Now there's these 2 slots over here, which are for these 2 missile pieces. They don't fire anything, they just go in there, and the connection is pretty loose. Now you can bring the combat deck upright and have a repair station, and once you're done with the trailer's combat deck, you can just throw everything back in there. And now for the absolutely satisfying transformation into the truck mode. The first thing you want to do is just flip the head over. Now you just need to bring both of the arms up. Now bring back the arm pieces, and wow, that is stiff. Bring the other arm back and make sure they're both lined up. Bring in both of the arms. Now we can finally give the legs what they want and bring them up, and make sure they're in that slot over there, just like that. That holds them in place very well. And now we can bring the toes up, take off the hands, and use that chest piece as storage. And this space was originally meant for the Diaclone figures to fit in there. And there is the classic Optimus Prime truck mode. And I absolutely love this truck mode. It's so satisfying and clean. Not to say that I don't like other modes of Optimus, there's quite a few that I do like. Now there's quite a bit of detail on the side of the truck. There's a few panels, and then you have this side window. I did go over most of the details in truck mode already, so there's no point in going over them again. Now I don't know if these translucent windows are supposed to be a tinted yellow or if they've just become yellow over time. One thing I didn't mention is that on the back of the leg it says Autobot, and you have that G2 Autobot logo. Now if we just attach the trailer, we get the complete look of Optimus Prime in his vehicle mode. Now some final thoughts on this figure, but first a big thank you to all my patrons who support me on Patreon. I really do like this figure, and if you can't get your hands on an original G1 Optimus, this is a good substitute. Now if you enjoyed this video over here, make sure to check out one of my many other videos that I have, and I'd greatly appreciate it if you could share this channel to other people who you might think like this sort of content. Also, this piece broke off, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe to pity me.